of Supervisors meeting for March 7th. What a crowd. Wow. Will the clerk please read our item?
This is a presentation from representatives of the state of Jefferson and Keep It California movements and improving direction to staff.
Staff report.
The State of Jefferson movement was originally conceived in 1941 by the 4 southernmost counties in Oregon and the 3 northernmost counties in California. Their goal was to return federal representation to rural counties while minimizing state and federal regulations. I'm going to sit over here. Okay. All right. Supporters of the state of Jefferson. Let me back up here. While the goals remain the same, the current State of Jefferson Declaration proposes that the California counties of Amador, Butte, Calaveras, Colusa, Del Norte, El Dorado, Glen, Humboldt, Lake, Lassen, Mendocino, Modoc, Nevada, Placer, Plumas, Shasta, Sierra, Siskiyou, Sutter, Tehama, Trinity, Tuolumne, and Yuba withdraw from California to form a 51st state. As I mentioned previously, this movement was originally conceived to include counties in Oregon. At this point, it is unclear as to the status of the Oregon counties and their involvement or interest in the state of Jefferson at this point. Supporters of the state of Jefferson assert that withdrawing from California to form another state would allow rural counties, such as Tuolumne, to elect representative leadership that reflects their rural values. It would also allow Tuolumne County to retain county property taxes, create laws with a more constitutional base, become a more business-friendly state, and utilize the county's natural resources such as timber and water. Keep It California is established in response to the state of Jefferson movement. While supporters of Keep It California recognize rural counties' lack of representation, they believe seceding from California to form a new state is not a viable solution. Keep It California proponents emphasize the benefits of state services that rural counties receive, such as public education funding, social services, law enforcement, and natural resource preservation. So today your board will hear presentations both from the Keep It California representatives as well as the state of Jefferson representatives. You will be asked to consider all of the detailed and complex information that they will share with you tonight. A few of the breadth of issues that you will need to consider that you may hear about tonight or may not, but just some things to keep in mind when considering both of these movements are personal income, sales and property tax and tax structures, public education funding, health and social services programs, water supply and delivery, transportation and other infrastructure funding, and policies related to criminal justice and public safety, again, among many other issues. So after you hear these presentations, it is recommended that your board consider what you hear tonight, and then consider the action that your board can take or may wish to take in the future, which can consist of officially supporting the State of Jefferson Declaration, officially opposing the State of Jefferson Declaration, placing the State of Jefferson Declaration on the ballot for an advisory election, or taking no position. And in your memo, I also included a map of the status of what the current counties have done, or the action that they've taken. So,
Thank you.
Questions? Yeah.
So how we're going to do this is we will have a 30-minute presentation from the State of Jefferson Coalition, and then a 30-minute presentation from the Keep It California folks. I'm looking at a lot of friends in the audience, and so I'm asking us all to be respectful. We may disagree with different pieces of the presentations that are being put forward, but please give us all a chance to hear them. And I have complete confidence in our ability to be respectful of one another. After we have the presentation and the board has had a chance to ask any questions they need to, then we would like to open it up for public comment, and we'll talk about that when we get to that juncture. So with that, I would ask the State of Jefferson folks to come on up.
Good evening. No microphone. Am I on? Can you hear me? That's good, because a lot of people were expecting Mark Baird, and there are three differences between us. He's about a foot taller. We weigh about the same. Also, Mark is probably... He has that profile, that look almost of nobility, and I have a face for radio. Also, Mark probably has forgotten more about the Constitution, liberty, and law than most of us will ever know. What I want to bring up tonight is, first of all, Tuolumne County. You have been signed in by the Secretary of State. You're in the state parliamentary record. The Senate Pro Tem and the Assembly Pro Tem has received a declaration by the people with their First Amendment right to redress grievances for lack of representation and dilution of vote, with the remedy being the state of Jefferson. Yeah! Yeah! So, with that, I think there's some things that really need to be brought up on where we are. As far as the state of Jefferson goes, how did we get here? Why did we start this? Well, first of all, it was about representation. Right now in California, we have one senator for every 1 million people. We have one assemblyman for every 500,000 people. In 1852, the benchmark was one representative for every 2,500 people. What's happened now is that most people voices cannot be heard. To give you an idea, in 11 counties in Northern California, ending with Glenn County, there's one senator for 11 counties. In Los Angeles County alone, there is 11. So you have an 11-to-1 ratio. Now, who wins that football game? Well, maybe Tom Brady. But really, when you stop and think about the situation we have with representation, it's just not there. And really and truly, to go into a situation, how about the fire tax? How about the situation of CARB? How about the 21 cent a mile tax that's going to be on gasoline that's coming up? By the way, you talked about education. According to Ted Gaines, and I have his article right here, who's a senator in California, the state of California has the worst educational situation in the United States. And we spent $71 billion last year. I'll say that again. We spent $71 billion. We have over $1 trillion in unfunded liability. We have laws that are being passed all the time to where Prop 57, that affect you guys? How about AB 109, that affect you guys? Yep. How about the sanctuary state, that affect you guys? SB 54. SB 54 has passed the Senate, which virtually makes the state of California a sanctuary state. SB 6 passed the Senate, which means that if you're going to be deported, that the state of California will hire an attorney for you to make sure that doesn't happen. Right now, it's okay with Prop 57 to rape an unconscious victim. It's okay for our 17 and 16-year-old young ladies to be prostitutes and not be arrested. It's okay for assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer, but you better not have a 15-round magazine. And oh, by the way, how about the Oroville Dam? What happened there? 200,000 people had to flee that. The money Governor Brown took and spent on education and the high-speed rail instead of the right positioning for that dam. How about the rest of the money? How about the $1.4 billion you just lost? How about the fracking on the property that he owns in Colusa County, that he uses government people for? You see that there's a different standard for people who are in office than there is for the regular folks. Now, you folks represent these people, and really and truly your job is thankless at times. But I think all they've ever asked you is, help us to help you, help all of us. Help us to help you, help all of us. I've talked to senators, I've talked to congressmen. Do you have a better idea than the state of Jefferson? Do you have a better idea? What is it that you can tell us that we can have where we can get our representation back? The federal model of government, there are 2 senators per state. Whether that state is big like California with 40 million people, or small like Wyoming with 900,000. That was the federal model of government we had before 1964. It's my Marco Rubio moment. Only because I have a cold. It's okay, it's legal to smile. Anyway. The point is that as we look over what's happened in California, and we look over a position of a lawless government that is passing laws, creating horrendous stress on our police officers and our sheriffs, and now with the sanctuary counties. Calaveras is a sanctuary county. Tehama County, and most of you probably know, Bob Williams brought forward, and we were with him a week ago in a meeting talking about Jefferson and talking about RCRC and talking about the situation of sanctuary cities and counties. Before you will have a resolution. Now, I know I was going to talk about Jefferson here, but really and truly, when I first came in, I thought about this a little bit. And I thought, the people in Tuolumne County have spoken. I don't know whether I can ask you a question. You can nod your head whether you've heard this or not in this presentation, but I will ask it anyway. Did you know that we have a court case going? Yes, okay. This is what the court case does, and this is the bottom line. Let's take the state of Jefferson and let's put it over here. Let's take the court case and put it over here. What is it everybody wants? Representation. Period. So, in fact, we went to every single assemblyman, every single senator. None of them listened to us. None of it. I asked Jim Nielsen, well, what's your idea? Keep on swinging, he said. What does that mean? What does keep on swinging mean? What could we do? Help us to help you, help all of us. That's all we've done. 3 years and 4 months is how long this issue has been on the table. 3 years and 4 months, 21 counties, literally hundreds of thousands of people. Declarations, 2 assemblies that boasted at least 800 people. Because people want liberty. And you spoke a little while ago about California and how to make things happen in California. California's answer is Cal-Exit. How many people here are familiar with Proposition 16-0001? Has anybody read it? I'm going to read it. I've got to get glasses on here because I only have one good eye. California Initiative, Constitutional Amendment and Statute. There are 6,700 people out getting signatures for this. I'm just going to read you the first 5 sentences. Repeals provision in California Constitution stating California is an inseparable part of the United States, that the United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land. What it says basically is that it is getting rid of Article 3, Section 1 of the California Constitution stating that California is inseparable from the United States and that they can't separate. It also says that it does not recognize the Constitution of the United States as the supreme law of the land. Sentence number 2. Places question of whether California should become a separate country on a future ballot. This first particular initiative will be to start a second initiative. If this one passes, the second initiative will ask for a separation, not secession, as Keep California has called us. We're not. We're doing an Article 4, Section 3 state split, legally under the Constitution. Secession is leaving the United States of America. Sentence number 3. Treats results of a future ballot, a vote, as a declaration of independence from the United States of America if 50% of registered voters participate and 55% of those voting approve. Requires the governor of California admission to the United Nations. That's what California's doing. And I know a lot of counties, because we've been there, have read this initiative. Another reason for the court case. Back to the court case. The court case, and the reason we've done it, is because we believe that we lack representation and we've had dilution of vote. We have 4 attorneys that work with us and 2 others that are advising. One from New Jersey has won 4 oral arguments against the Supreme Court. The other 3 have won. We've gotten around 80 hours of pro bono work. I'll say that again. We've got about 80 hours of pro bono work. Now, why would they do that if we were just a bunch of silly people running around in green t-shirts? Why not just leave us to our folly? In this court case, what's going to happen is we're going to file it in federal court. When we file it, it will require a 3-judge panel because it is a dilution of vote and lack of representation case. When that happens, they will have to decide whether or not we have a case, which we believe we do, and the attorneys believe we do, or do not. The beauty of that process is in a Title 28 United States Code, what happens is the immediate appeal is to the Supreme Court. So no matter which side wins, the other one can appeal right to the Supreme Court. Now, it doesn't go to the back of the line, it doesn't go to the middle, it goes closer to the front because of the nature of the case. It's a little more complicated than that, but it's really kind of difficult to bring you all the way up to speed, but I will answer questions on that later if you have them. In fact, any questions you have, I'm happy to answer on anything. As we look at this court case and we proceed, all we want is representation. What's fair representation? Would that be a senator per county like we had prior to 1964, before Reynolds versus Sims? That'd be about right. Some of you might remember that. You see, really and truly, when people talk about a state, in the state of Jefferson, that's the remedy. Because we all know in a court case we have standing, harm, which we know we can prove, and a remedy. Now, the court can't come back and say, well, guess what, California, you've got to just let them go and create a state. That isn't what's going to happen. What will happen is the court would come back, whether it be the Supreme Court or the federal court, would say to us, okay, you guys need to get in a room and figure it out. These people, the plaintiffs, people in Tuolumne County, have proven that they have a lack of representation and dilution of vote. So, what's your remedy? They need more representation. How that takes shape and the form is negotiation, which I won't go into. But really and truly, this is a serious thing. And I'm really not that much of a serious guy. But when I look around and I see my kids and grandkids, and we see our kids leaving, and you see what's going on in crime in your community, come on. Anybody that's lived here in this county for 10 years has seen a dramatic change. California's out of control. And not only that, but now they have an initiative that we're paying people, 6,700 people to go out and get signatures, an initiative to separate and seditiously leave the United States of America. There's a gentleman named Steve Baird, and Stephen Baird is a young man who ran for Senate, as a matter of fact, state Senate. Did it with hardly any money. He got about 18% of the vote, not bad. Brilliant young guy. In Shasta County, about 4 weeks ago, we had a Second Amendment meeting with sheriffs from 2 counties, the DAs, Sam Paredes, gun owners of California's president, the NRA lobbyist from Sacramento, and the Rifle and Pistol Association president. We had a town hall with them. 600 people showed up, standing room only. People understanding that all our rights are being taken away. Our Second Amendment rights are very important. In the reading of the Second Amendment, there isn't a statement that whether or not we're allowed to have guns, or whether or not we're getting permission to have guns. It says that the government shall not infringe upon that right. Anybody here agree with the Second Amendment? Yeah. The Second Amendment protects the rest. And I'll say one more thing too. We have inalienable rights. Those rights come from God, not from man. 3 years, 3 months, come on. Nothing like this has ever been done before. My wife and I were back east in Virginia, West Virginia, Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Pennsylvania. While we were back there, we were with 31 people from across the pond. They were talking about Brexit. The understanding of liberty and what we told them, we don't want to leave the United States like the people from Cal exit. We don't want to take a star off. We want to add one. Those people understood a lot about liberty. They understood what was going on in our nation. They understood what was going on in California. And I shouldn't have to tell you guys anything. You deal with it day in and day out. You deal with the budgets, the money. The money, that's my favorite part. My favorite part. Anybody remember that 6-state initiative Tim Draper did? The billionaire out of Silicon Valley. He actually called me on Christmas Eve. I didn't know the guy. We were talking. His comment was, well, you know, my attorneys tell me that if we split this in 6 different states and put this on this initiative, that this will work. And I said, it won't because of Reynolds versus Sims. It won't because you have counties still lumped in if it's one man, one vote, and it's all about population, which is not the federal model of government, remember? Every state has 2 senators and the House is based upon what? Population. And he said, well, I guess we should have talked to you guys first. And I said, well, I guess you should have. But understand this, that when you did this, the LAO, Legislative Analysis Office, had to do a study. And in that study, they took what they considered Jefferson, which was 11 counties in upper northern California, and they did an economic study on just the way they were, just like that. They found, California found, not my statistics, California found that we would be $15 million stronger than New Mexico. Just those 11 counties. Since then, we've added 10 more. With Del Norte coming back on. We have people now making rumblings in Stanislaus, Mariposa. Can we add counties during the court case? Yes, we can. When are we filing the court case? Very shortly. When we do file it, we will have 90 days in which to serve the Secretary of State and the Governor of California. The people aren't fooling around anymore. But you know, one of the things I asked myself, and I'm getting back to this gun Second Amendment meeting we had, and Stephen Baird and his wife Diana stayed with us after that meeting. And we were thinking about, you know, what's the spirit of our intentions? What's the spirit of your intentions? What's the spirit of liberty? How do we bring together solidarity with all the people? How do we do that? And he looked at me and he said, unity. Well, we have to have something maybe we can read to supervisors, read to senators, yes, even read to congressmen. And in the 21 counties now, they have this statement. Steve went home, he wrote this up, we talked a little bit, I think we changed maybe one sentence. And I'd like to read it to you right now. 11 years ago, Providence brought together the brightest minds of the age to forge a lasting legacy, which we in our posterity are privileged to call our Constitution. Honoring a millennia of foundational principles of natural law, our founding fathers developed a republican system of government that has endured for more than 2.25 centuries. The Northern California counties of Jefferson, as a pledge to Almighty God, do declare our unity with the United States of America and intend with our blood, treasure, and sacred honor to remain with the nation we hold most dear. No seditious actions by elements within California or its separatist legislature will deter us from remaining a strong and ardent people living within the greatest nation ever designed. For how could we as a free people not wish to remain active participants in our representative form of government? A republic created not to suppress, but to serve the people and bind the government. As a nation, our sacred documents codified by the laws of God to secure man's unalienable rights to life, liberty, and property, and the ability to protect the same, no man or rogue form of government may ever stake claim to those tenets which have been ordained by him. Make known that one hint of seditious behavior by a self-stylized protectorate of an ignorant people will be met with swift and unrelenting support of our nation. People of the counties bound together under the name of Jefferson are wholly engaged in remaining one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. I've never spoken in front of people until about 5 years ago. I have 5 children, 3 grandkids, and a great-granddaughter. I'm seeing what's happening to my country. I'm seeing what's happening in my community. I'm seeing what's happening to the politics, that the only way you can become a senator or the only way you can become an assemblyman is if you have enough money. And Lord only knows how much it takes to become the governor of California. And once you get to that position, you get richer and richer and richer. And we are in a position now to where maybe we have to ask our boards of supervisors and our city councils and the people who are in office, when you look at an issue, how do you look at it? Do you look at it, how does this issue help or hurt my constituents, or how does this help or hurt me? Really and truly, everyone here wants the same thing. I don't care much for either party. Neither one of them have done us any good. We have some divisions on things that we shouldn't have. We have the issues that the government's involved in they shouldn't be. But when you have the condoning of sedition, where we have an initiative that goes on the ballot where people can actually want to leave the United States, I guess you can do just about anything, can't you? I guess you can. Especially when you're in a position to say that the Constitution is the law of the land. Well, you may believe what you believe, but I will say this because I'm a Christian, and I'll say this. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be one, but I am. That's up to you. If I'm right, well, if you're right, but if you're right, and I'm not, I just live my life. What if I'm right? One other thing, too, I'd like to bring up about that. We talk about inalienable rights, don't we? Right? Life, liberty, property. If those rights are given to us by God, or if you believe in inalienable rights, then how can you not believe in God? Because if your rights come from God, who can take them away? God. If your rights come from man, man can take them away. How many rights have we had taken away? I'll ask you a question. Name one thing right now What, from the water you drink, to the clothes you're wearing, to the toys your kids and grandkids play with, to the cars you drive, to the light bulb you use, to the food you eat. Name one thing right now that the state of California or the federal government don't control in your life. Just one. Just one. And I've literally asked thousands of people that question. Mark Barrett asked $7 million now on one radio show back in Maryland. The truth is that the people of Tuolumne County have looked around and said, you know, we have to do something. We have to do something. We want our kids to stay here. We want to have a place where they can grow up here in Tuolumne County, the place we love, the place we grew up. But they most of the time have to move away economically. So what happens? They rise up and say, want liberty. Here's the best part. The best part is that there's a lot of people here that you may hear from tonight that I don't even know. And probably know a heck of a lot more than I do. But understand this, that I don't think there's too many people in this room that don't want liberty. And there isn't too many people in this room that see California going anywhere but down. I mean, those are the facts. I mean, those are just the simple facts. Everybody knows that. Economically, we've had different studies. The LAO's done studies. I have one here with me. Economically, here's one thing I'd like to ask, and that is, how do the other 49 states exist without California's money? How does that even happen? How does that enter into reality? See, here's another thing too. The idea of knowing what the state of Jefferson is a little homework. You go to soj51.net or read a brochure. Or ask your constituents. Point being is that I think that people are at a point now where they understand that if it's up to anybody, it's up to us. It really is we the people, isn't it? However, we have a situation now where the creation has now controlled the creator. Really and truly, you know, maybe there was better things to do tonight. We drove here because Mark Perry couldn't. He's in Canada. He is the longest tenured DC-10 flyer in the United States of America, so he's training pilots. The people out here are just regular people. It always seems to throw me a little bit and we found this not to be the case, and I certainly don't reflect this on this board. I've heard great things about you guys. I'm not reflecting this at all. But I know that I've been told by a couple of congressmen, you know what? The real deal is that you really don't know what goes on back there, and you really don't know what's going on, so let us do it. Look where that's gotten us. So really and truly, if you folks decide you want to do something, sign a declaration and join, that'd be great. I'm sure that, you know, supporting the people in your community, fantastic. I think that'd be great. And if that's what you want to do, but really and truly, the horse is already out of the barn. Because everyone has the right to redress agreements, don't they? That's the fifth right in the First Amendment. There's four other ones too. But that fifth right gives everyone, no matter whether you're a voter or not, the right to redress agreements. Lack of representation, lawlessness, government not being accountable, all those things are things that we can redress agreements on. But really and truly, I think tonight, as we look at the people out here, all the people that showed up to come out here and voice their constitutional rights. This particular position that they've taken in this county is amazing, and 20 other ones have too. 9 boards of supervisors have signed on. But right now, we're already headed down the road with 21. All I'd like to say is that the people in your county are amazing. I've talked to a lot of them, traveled all over. Great people, wonderful people that love liberty. And really and truly, I hope that you're the Board of Supervisors that are the kind of folks that look out for them. And I'm sure you are. I've heard good things, like I said. But really and truly, the people have kind of taken over on this one, because that's just the deal. Donald Trump gave us a little bit of that. Point being is that I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, safe, prosperous, and blessed life. And time has come for 51. Thank you.
That's it, thank you.
Well, Terry, I also have a cold, so we're both in the same boat here. My name is Cindy Elsmore. I'm the treasurer for Keep It California. That's a nonprofit, nonpartisan PAC, I should say. And we were formed in April of 2015 to oppose the state of Jefferson idea. And when I got involved with this, I was very dismayed at the incorrect information that was being put out by the Jefferson supporters. I was the treasurer tax collector for 22 years in Sierra County and worked with Del Hodges, who's a very nice guy, and worked in the office for another 8 years. So the fact that the financial information that was coming out was inaccurate was very dismaying to me. And really, decisions like this are monumental, and you need to have correct information, of course. So anyway, we were formed in 2015. At the point where there were 6 counties that had signed on to the state of Jefferson, and 1 county had actually voted, the Topanga County voters went with that. So let me start my presentation here, and we'll get going.
Make sure the light's on. There you go.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we don't want to see California split up, and we also do not want to see it secede from the Union. We're not seditionists, as Terry was suggesting, perhaps. We want everyone to be able to work together towards solutions for rural California. I live in Sierra County. I've lived there for 40 years and have seen the changes over time, and we are also concerned about what's going on. So our mission is to advocate for better representation of rural California's issues. And to oppose breaking away from California. We really feel that only by knowing what the facts are that you can make a logical decision here. We've conducted careful research about financial issues, and want to bring these facts to your attention so that you can make an informed decision. So right now, the counties that are in the state of Jefferson, by a vote of the citizens, there's Tehama County, by a majority vote of the Board of Supervisors, there's Glenn, Modoc, Siskiyou, Sutter, and Yuba. That's a total of 6 counties. The counties that are out, by vote of the citizens, they're Del Norte and Lassen. Lassen's vote just took place in June last year, and they voted the idea of Jefferson down by 57%. We have been to many other counties, and the Board of Supervisors has either rejected or through inaction have not volunteered to go into this ill-conceived idea. And those are Alpine, Amador, Butte, Calaveras, Colusa, El Dorado, Lake, Nevada, Placer, Plumas, Sierra, Shasta, and Trinity. So there's 15 counties that have decided not to go into this. Sorry. Is that better? So there's 15 counties that have decided not to go into the state of Jefferson. This is a map of the counties that are in and out. The counties in green have decided either rejected or have taken no action after hearing the information from both sides. And the counties in kind of that pinky color have the Board of Supervisors, or the Board of Supervisors have voted for it. Tehama County is in gold, and their citizens voted for the state of Jefferson. The blue counties, Lassen and Del Norte, the voters actually voted on this. And 3 counties have not heard anything about it until we got here. So that'll be only 2. So anyway, into the personal income tax. Right now, Tuolumne residents pay an average of 3.4 progressive tax rate. In 2015, the average per capita adjusted gross income was $22,000, and the average per capita tax was $750. So the total state income tax that Tuolumne residents send to Sacramento is $41.5 million. In contrast to the Tuolumne County budget funding sources, which now do not show, which is very helpful here, interesting, was $28 million in state funding sources for just the county budget. That doesn't include the special districts, the cities, and Columbia Community College, anything like that. So, this didn't copy well, did it? In the Tuolumne schools funding, they had about $26 million. Okay, here we go. $28 million, okay, $28 million for the schools budget, and the county budget is $47 million. So, just on those 2 budgets alone, $75 million comes back to Tuolumne County. And you're only sending $41 million to Sacramento. So it's not like you're spending excessive money. You're sending excessive money to Sacramento that they never bothered to return. In the Jefferson plan, I don't know if you've looked at their viability model online, but they assume that the state income tax would all come back to each of the counties, and 85% would go to the county and 15% would go to the states, the state of Jefferson operation. The sales tax, they have this all worked out here, so they figure they'd have about $54 million that would come back just from those major funding sources. The problem here is that there would be a deficit of almost $21 million, according to their model. But in addition to the $21 million just in the deficit for the schools and for the county, what about the infrastructure grants that we all receive from the state? I understand you have a new jail that's being built. Columbia College support is also another issue. Who's going to do the state parks, the fish and wildlife operations, all those state services that you receive, the Caltrans money, state highway patrol, CAL FIRE. When there's fires and floods, who comes to the rescue here is the state of California. So those are additional funding sources and services that the state provides that are hard to quantify, but those are all in addition to this basic $21 million deficit. Also, the state is very generous with grant support for local nonprofits that improve our quality of life, such as the Arts Council and various other nonprofits. So the main thing here is that the state of Jefferson has committed to no taxes for big business. They will not have any corporate taxes. So when there's a deficit, who's going to be paying for the additional amount of money it's going to take to provide the services that we are accustomed to? There's going to be big increases for people and for small businesses. And probably, we will be dependent upon the federal government for help, just like other poor states, like Missouri and Mississippi and Louisiana. Even in their own viability model, they show 140% of federal income tax that is paid by Tuolumne residents as coming back to Tuolumne County. And so instead of being a donor state like California is now, we would be a taker state. This kind of goes against our self-sufficiency value that I think we all have here. We want to take care of our own and not be dependent upon other people or governments, and so that's difficult. The other thing is that the debt assumption numbers that the Jefferson viability model uses, they show $340 billion as a total debt for California. It's really hard to find what that number is. But it doesn't appear to include unfunded liabilities. But even if it were correct, they're showing that they expect to pay this back. We would be paying, they understand that we would be responsible for a portion of that debt were we to split. Sorry. And base that on the amount of population that would leave and go to Jefferson. So that's 4.8% of the California population would go to Jefferson. They expect that they would be able to get a 0% interest rate on that debt. And I can tell you, as the county treasurer tax collector for a number of years, no broker no bondholder will accept a 0% interest loan. I mean, they have no incentive to do that. No one will loan Jefferson at 0% interest. And because they have no credit record, and as a new state would have unstable revenue for a period of time until they work out the kinks, even with a low 5% interest rate for 30 years, the state of Jefferson estimate for payment of that debt doubles. There are just problems with this plan. This is not a financially viable model. Higher education, there are no public universities within the state of Jefferson footprint. Humboldt has decided they are not interested at all. They will not even hear a presentation. Chico, the board has not joined the Jefferson movement. And there's no provision for how they're going to support the community colleges that already exist in the state of Jefferson. So that's going to be a real problem, and out-of-state tuition for our kids will price a lot of students out of the college market. And that's just really, that's the reality of it. Negotiation, we've heard that Jefferson expects to negotiate an in-state tuition deal with California or maybe other states, but California taxpayers are not going to subsidize another education for another state. That just doesn't happen. I was in a meeting where I was at a Jefferson meeting where they said that the CalPERS and CalSTRS pension programs would continue to exist in Jefferson because there was a contract with the employees for the teachers and the public employees that are in those programs, and that the contract couldn't be broken because CalPERS and CalSTRS do business all over the world. Well, that's just not true. It's, CalPERS and CalSTRS retirees can live wherever they want. They can live in Jamaica if they want to and receive their retirement checks. That's not a problem. But current employees for CalPERS and CalSTRS are California government agency employees. And when they go to work outside of California for the state of Jefferson, although their current contributions can remain in California, they cannot remain an active participant in CalPERS or CalSTRS. So what will happen with that? Will the Jefferson offer a public employee retirement program? Will the benefits be commensurate with what California offers now? If they are not, are we going to have an exodus of people who are experienced just at the time when you need to have experienced people to help set up a new government? So, representations. The Reynolds versus Sims decision, or set of decisions, there were several cases that all became part of that, declared that the states must create districts which are equal in population. You know, shorthand is one person, one vote. So one vote in Sierra County would equal 18 votes in Tuolumne County and 125 people in Placer County, using the one senator per county format that they want to use. I live in Sierra County. I think that's great, but I don't imagine that Placer's voters or Tuolumne's are going to be wildly excited about the dilution of their vote. The potential court challenges could last for decades. The litigation over the last split, which was Virginia in the 1860s, lasted 50 years before they got it worked out. So this is not going to be a fast and easy process any way you look at it. And then who pays for the court challenges? Does that mean that Tuolumne County voters are on the hook because Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors signed a declaration and are a party to the court challenge? So, meanwhile, back at the ranch, when the state of Jefferson group saw that they weren't convincing the board of the benefits of splitting the state, they changed tactics. Instead of going from one board to the next, requesting that people sign up for this declaration, they started getting petition signatures on statements of support, which have no legal effect. It was not a situation where the petition was a legal petition issued by the clerk of the county or the secretary of the state that has all the information required for a voter to sign. And you're all elected officials, you know just what that looks like. So they were having men, women, children sign these petitions, but they will never be verified. Those signatures will never be verified. So the intent was to circumvent the Board of Supervisors and the voters and take the petitions directly to the state legislature for action. January 2016, they declared that they had thousands of signatures on the steps of the Capitol and submitted the petitions to the state legislature with declaring 15 counties support separating from California. Tuolumne was one of those petitions. The surprise was this, that the petitions had a total of 63 signatures, all 15, total of 63 signatures. Tuolumne's petition was submitted with only 5 signatures, and I think I sent you a copy of that petition. No Board of Supervisors or legislature has seen the thousands of signatures. No legislator is willing to carry this legislation to split the state. And so they can't get the majority of the California legislature to adopt this because no legislature is willing to put his name on as an author. So having failed at the state level, they plan to take their case to the Supreme Court for elected representation and dilution of vote. Just something on the dilution of vote here is, yes, we have very few legislators per number of people that they represent. And it's one of the lowest in the country ratios. It may be the lowest. It is the lowest?
By 300%.
Yeah, okay, I knew it was high. And, you know, probably we should be pushing the legislature to increase the number of legislators, but that will not change the percentage of people that are elected in LA versus Tuolumne County. So the problem will remain. So what's really required to represent the will of the people on the state of Jefferson? To be successful, the proposal would require a majority of California voters to approve a constitutional amendment to allow the split, which is just what Terry referred to that Cal Exit is doing, which, by the way, we are not in favor of. And then a majority of the state legislature and Congress. The California Legislative Analyst's Office does not state that Jefferson would be financially viable. This was an analysis they did for the 6-state initiative. What it said was, decisions by appointed commissioners and elected leaders would determine how taxes, public spending, and other public policies would change for the new states and their local governments. It's a very interesting analysis. I urge you to read it one of these times. So, the process developed by the state of Jefferson proponents is designed to avoid a vote of the people. When they went to Lassen County in June last year, that was the last effort that was made. The Lassen Board of Supervisors decided that they were going to put this on the ballot and get the answer once and for all here. And it was defeated by 57% in conservative Lassen County. So since June of 2014, their forward momentum has stopped. And now they only have 6 counties which are not contiguous and could not make a viable state if they didn't have contiguous counties. So, keeping California, we agree that there are problems. I mean, there are problems everywhere, but poverty is high. Many of the target counties are among the poorest in the state. Good paying jobs are scarce. Infrastructure is in need of repair and upgrading. Fewer institutions of higher education. We've got problems, but what we think we need to be doing is looking at joining forces with RCRC, get people involved in either electing more effective representatives for our districts, lobbying or trying to work with the urban legislators and educate them on what it looks like to live in and work in a rural county. It's different, and they've got problems that we can't begin to understand. I mean, it's an issue that goes both ways, but we need their help and we need their votes to resolve some issues about regulations and about one-size-fits-all legislation, and we think that that's the way forward instead of trying to split the state. So we recommend that the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors, the departments, and outside agencies conduct an analysis on the financial, social, educational, business impacts of splitting from California. Conduct stakeholder meetings to see what would be impacted if you are serious about joining this effort. We have already begun educating urban legislators about the rural issues and advocating for solutions that benefit rural California. We've been working with Mike McGuire about the petitions and the PIL funding, payments in lieu of taxes for the wildlife management areas. I don't know if Tuolumne has any money that's owed there. Most of the rest of the counties do. And that's a broken promise by the state of California, and they need to fix it. Biomass funding to remove fuel from the wildlands. Assemblyman Dolly has been in the forefront on that, and we support that as well. And 100% broadband access for all of California. We need to have a program like they had in the old REA program, where rural electrification in the 30s, where they brought electricity into every farmhouse in America. And that's what we need to be doing with broadband. That's the new utility that just has to be 100% available. And it's not. So we need to have people working on those things, and we're pushing and educating urban legislators who do not have a clue that that's the case. So, I guess that's my presentation, and, the only other thing is, we were asked how other states exist without California's money. Well, they don't. We contribute to other states, because we have a really strong economy. So, they don't exist without California very well. Thank you.
At this time, does any member of the board have questions for either of the presenters?
Yes, I think this is one for Terry. Did I get it right? Sure. You mentioned that the lawsuit that you filed is going to go to the California Appeals Court or
No.
the Supreme Court?
No, it's going to the Eastern District Federal Court in
Eastern
Sacramento.
District
Yeah.
in Sacramento, not the 9th District.
No, it is not.
Okay.
No, it is not. I do have to just say one thing, though. I was amazed at the fact that you needed to be told what your economy was, $22,000 per person, and what you needed in your own county, when you guys probably had all those facts to begin with, I would think, since it's your county. Kind of amazed me.
It's always good to have a refresher.
Very refreshing, yes.
And then this is done. I'm done here with the basic questions. In looking at the resolution, the last further resolve will join the litigation as a plaintiff in the case of citizens for fair representation.
Right.
Do you have any feel or barometer on how much that is going to cost and how long it would take?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And also, I believe some of your own citizens can answer a lot of that stuff, since it is their county, on the issue, on that particular issue too, on what the form you're reading. But the answer to your question is yes. Basically what happens when we file, and we have one more thing to do when we file, just one out of all the different demand letters, the benchmarks, all the things that go into a court case, we only have one more thing left to do. When that's done, and we're not going to give a date, and the reason we're not is because we don't want to tell people, well, it's going to be here and it's going to be there, and then not have it happen. But we are very close. We have one more thing, and when that does get filed, which will be filed electronically, we have 90 days in which to serve the Secretary of State and the Governor. My guess, I can give you a guesstimate, but
That's all I.
you want a guesstimate?
Just a ball.
My guesstimate would be probably as early as late spring and maybe as late as summer, early summer, or maybe tomorrow. I'm serious. I'm very serious because
What I was looking for was, an estimated cost, because
Oh, the estimated cost of it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so far, as I told you, we've had about 70 hours of pro bono work, and the attorneys have been marvelous. I mean, 4 of them. We think that the estimated cost might be around $1 million, is what we think. But we really don't know at this point. You see, that the thing is that once we go into court, we're going to have a little more feel of where that total amount's going to be. But I can say this, that the attorneys have assured us that they're going to help us any which way they can. And, attorneys are interesting people. They really are, Mr. Gray. The thing that's so great about them is that, there's got to be some in it for them, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so if you're going to do pro bono work, how would you like to be the attorney firm or firms or one of the 6 attorneys that actually helped create the first state split in the United States of America in 150 years? Johnny Cochran, move over.
So, thank you, Steve.
Okay. And anytime you want to talk to me personally, I will give you my home number, and we can talk about things more in depth, because you probably don't have time here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
And the Supervisor Rutherford?
I've got a question, and I'm sorry I missed your name.
Cindy?
Cindy? That's right, okay.
Cindy.
You quoted some figures, and I'm not here to question the figures, but you quoted the total amount of property taxes that are given or get sent to the state by our citizens, and then you quoted the total amount of money that we get back, and there's a deficit there. But in truth, we get that money back from all the taxes that are paid, to include all the taxes and fees that are paid to the state of California. And it seems to me that doesn't accurately reflect the true ratio of what we give. And the reason I bring that up is our own analysis. The last time I heard it, the number was we get about 75 cents on the dollar that we send to Sacramento back from the county.
Where was that analysis performed?
Locally by our transportation folks.
Okay, so that was transportation money only? Or
No, that was the total amount of money that we send in and what we get back.
That's very interesting. So let me just correct an impression. The $41.5 million is from income tax, state income taxes. No amount of property taxes ever goes to the
I'm sorry, I
state.
misspoke.
Okay, I just wanted to make
It
sure.
was only state income tax, when in fact there's property tax, there's sales tax.
There's not property
vehicle
tax, that's what I'm
licensing
saying.
fees, there's all of that.
Yeah.
So that, just using income tax doesn't come close to correctly representing the total amount of money that our taxpayers pay to the state. So it will change dramatically the ratio that you show on the slide.
Well, the other thing is that it does not also include the amount of corporate tax that is paid to the state of California, because that isn't something that I was able to capture, and this is not by any means a thorough analysis of all the impacts. The point is that the county, I would suggest that you direct your auditor or whoever does your budgeting, appropriate person for that, to do an analysis. And because they have access to all that information and will know all the impacts in Tuolumne County, which are different than in my county or whatever. But the other thing is that when you only analyze the K through 12 schools and the county budget, as I pointed out, that doesn't include the city. It doesn't include the amount of money that Caltrans and all the state state agencies put into the county to keep everyone safe and on the road. It really is just an illustration of the kinds of things you need to think about.
Okay.
We all get annoyed with the state. I get pretty annoyed with the state. And we can write letters and we can lobby our legislators, but it's going to be pretty hard to get help from the state if we're saying we don't even want to be here. So what incentive do they have to help Tuolumne County do any of the things Tuolumne County wants to do with state money and apply for grants or bond measure money or parks money or anything?
Okay, I'm asking the questions and you're
Yeah.
giving another speech.
I'm sorry.
The other question, and I would be interested in either side or both sides answering this because I really don't know, but has anybody done an analysis of the cost of
regulatory actions that come from the state that would not be present under the state of Jefferson model. And I'm thinking some of the costs associated with CEQA, the way that it is morphed. Not that it wasn't a good plan originally, but those just simple litigation costs associated with mitigated negative declaration lawsuits. And something as simple as prevailing wage on the cost of doing business. All of that stuff, I would assume, I would hope, the state of Jefferson would not pursue. So somehow, for us to make a legitimate decision, I think somebody's got to package all that information for us, because I'll be honest with you, just because of who I am, my gut feel says we're paying a heck of a burden in those areas that we could, certainly as a county, an independent county, doing our own regulatory actions, we could keep our environment and all the other things, and our business environment and everything, just as clean and safe and all those other things, but at a tremendous less cost. My point is, I don't have an answer. I'd sure like to have that answer, though, if we're going to go down the road and make some of these decisions. And I think that those are things that, if you wanted to bring them or you wanted to bring them, I'd love to see what the numbers look like.
I can give you specifics on that, but I want to bring up something that takes this all in a nutshell.
Could you come to the microphone?
Sorry, I thought I was at home for a minute. Sorry about that. Those are great questions, but here's the deal. I had a talk with a senator, and we had a talk about a thing called the equal footing doctrine. You know what that is, right? Is it okay for me to ask you a question? Who knows what that is? People out here? These people, okay. The equal footing doctrine is a very interesting doctrine. And I said, really the elephant in the room is the equal footing doctrine, isn't it? A lot of the statistics that have come out about California here are not accurate. You can just go to your own CalPERS and see that. I have an expert with me. Okay. The equal footing doctrine states that any new state formed within a state through an Article 4, Section 3 split, if that's the process that happens, or we may get more representation because of the court case. There's two different things happening here. If we became a state, the equal footing doctrine would take effect. What the equal footing doctrine states is that a new state formed within another state by the Article 4, Section 3 split would have the same equal footing as the original 13. Which means, how much BLM land was there in the original 13? Who controlled the water in the original 13? You see, when we were back east, there's a lot of things really and truly about the Constitution that's very interesting in what happens with a new state. The equal footing doctrine. Now, I'm not saying that, we get everything we want and all that good stuff, and then we wouldn't have to negotiate, but think of the negotiating standpoint.
Okay, equal rights here.
Right.
I asked a question, you've gone beyond the question, so I'm going to ask you to also not create a new speech here.
Okay, and I'm sorry about that, but I thought I was going to directly answer your question only because you were asking about certain things about what would happen with the state of Jefferson with these different...
No, I was asking about a financial analysis, and again, I don't mean to be rude, but we have a lot of people that want to talk tonight. I was asking about a financial analysis associated with regulatory actions imposed by the state.
Yes, and we can get you that. I'll make sure that Stephen Barrett gets you that, and I'll make sure that you get sent that. Absolutely. Because to go into that now, it would be a bit boring.
Okay, thank you.
Right, and I have the same question. I called it opportunity cost, but I'd like to see some analysis of what that is.
Okay, sounds great. We can do that for you. Now, if we send that to one of you, you all get it, right? If we send one email to all of you on that information, send it to Alicia, right?
Yeah.
We will do that.
Does the board have any other questions at this time? Okay, what we were going to do before we start taking some comments from the audience is let's take a 15-minute break, and that'll give us all a chance to stand up and there's the rest of We are going to move into public comment. I am anticipating that there are a number of you that would like to talk to us tonight. So, a couple of things. If someone ahead of you has made your point, we're listening, we hear it. And so if you want to just stand up and let us know that I agree or I support, that's great. But please, we don't need to hear the same point a half a dozen times. We are going to hold the comments to 2 minutes because we want to give everyone an opportunity to make a comment that would like to. So, we'll start with Mr. Banks.
Supervisors, this everybody here?
Yeah.
Okay. Supervisors and Patriots, thank you for this meeting and thank you for the evening. I'm Mark Banks, lifelong county resident.
Hang on, Mark, we can't hear.
Okay.
Speaking to the microphone. Closer to the microphone. All right. He's setting. Game's on. You're good.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, Mark Banks, lifelong Tuolumne County resident. We heard a lot here tonight from both sides, but I'm telling you right now, status quo is not going to get it done, and that's what Keep It California would like to see. Our California Constitution starts with, we the people of the state of California grateful to Almighty God for our freedom in order to secure and perpetuate the blessings. Do establish this Constitution, amendments, do establish this Constitution. So, where we went wrong, here we are 150 years later with 512 amendments and 570 state agencies. The system is broken. Reynolds versus Sims saw to it, and we've heard about that tonight, that we don't get a fair shake. We are underrepresented. There's no way of fixing that until we go back to some sort of federal model of government. California is now colluding with federal agencies to steal and destroy our resources. And I'm talking about timber, I'm talking about water, and most importantly, I'm talking about the kids that grow up in Tuolumne County, our resources being stolen from us. We can't depend on California to work with the federal government and some agencies that would do things like produce bark beetle incubators, but we actually need 100 trees per acre or less and get the rest of them out of there. That's our economy. It's been our economy for years, and what we've got now is unsustainable, and it's just going to get worse. Tuolumne County population and employment data, we've seen that come up in the last few, oh boy, I'm out of time. It's terrible. We're losing all our people. We are getting older, and the rest of California does not suffer the same fate that we do.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, I'm Dave Tichenall. I'm one of the original 5 signers that got Tuolumne County into this, and I'm very proud of that. I also want to say thanks to everybody that showed up tonight. I had a whole bunch of things that I wanted to say. My thought got derailed by the opposition's comments, so I just want to go straight to one of the things she was talking about, and that was, she talked about our support signatures not being valid, not being, a legitimate thing. Well, we don't set it up that way. We're not trying to put something on a ballot, so we don't need name and phone number and address and all the rest of that information. What we're trying to do is gather signatures of the people that live here in this county and to let you know how much support there is for this. I've got a document here I'm going to put in front of Carl Roder here in a minute. You guys can pass it around. I'm going to pick it up before the end of the evening. But this is a sample of all the signatures that we've collected. And it's broken up by your district. So you can go through there really quickly and see the people that you know, people that you have worked with and everything else that are supporting this. And the other thing that I wanted to say real quick is that this is the beginning of the end of the beginning of Jefferson. We went into the winter. We've been kind of shut down in our signature collection efforts, but spring is coming, and I guarantee you we are going to be out there walking neighborhoods, setting up in all the public spaces, and there will not be one corner of Tuolumne County where our presence will not be felt. So I can guarantee you by the end of summer, we are going to have 60% or more of the residents of this county signed up to support our effort, and I'll just leave it at that. Thank you for listening to us.
Give that to us, then it stays with the clerk, and so maybe if any of the supervisors are interested in looking at that, they can come find you afterwards, and it can stay at your property.
We'll make it an electronic document.
Okay, that would be good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name's Joe Bick. I've been a professional soldier for 17 years. I'm in law enforcement now. My military career started really in October 3rd, 1993. Some of you remember the movie Black Hawk Down. Those guys heal a lot. I wasn't there that day, but I was graduating the selection process to go into that unit. Bracketing my career at the far end is a combat tour from 2004 to 2006 in Iraq. And there's a guy by the name of James Ferguson tonight who's probably sitting in his garage with his one good hand left, smoking a cigarette and reliving the ambush that took a quarter of his brain out. What does that have to do with anything here? What did he sacrifice for? Why did he do that? Why did any of us go and do that? 4 combat tours later, I'm standing here in front of you, and I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the way things are going. I didn't ask for somebody to tell me what's best for me. You don't get to, not you, but the state of California doesn't get to make decisions about what's best for me, what vaccines my child needs, what I'm allowed to defend myself with or how. The state of California, the people of Los Angeles and Sacramento are wonderful people. People of San Francisco are wonderful people, and their ideas are theirs. But they're a lot closer to El Paso, Texas than they are to me. So maybe they should try pushing them around. All of us, and I think I speak for everybody in this room, all of us want a chance at a clean slate. And this is, we're doing it peacefully. And I hope we can keep it that way.
Good evening, board. My name is David Wynn. I'm one of the original signers. 100 years ago, 1917, the year that saw the birth of communism and its firm embrace of collectivism and the state, a form of totalitarian government that unfortunately looks more and more like what we have in California. 100 years ago, the United States, with its free economy, low taxes, and abundant resources, became a booming economy. The energy, innovation, and sacrifice of a free people was springing into full bloom. 2 world wars called for even more sacrifice, and we unwillingly became the leader of the free world. We American citizens living today are the beneficiaries of those sacrifices and the values our founding fathers passed on to us in the Constitution. We cannot take credit for what we inherited. We can never repay the sacrifices made by those who fought for the love of freedom and individual rights. But we are called on to preserve that legacy and continue the fight. As President Reagan said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on to them to do the same. Or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was to live in the United States where men were free. Those who would continue the fight include millions of Californians who have been ignored, impugned, and unfairly represented in the affairs of government. Our fight is peaceful and our cause is just, founded in the rule of law. We must not lose the opportunity the time and circumstances have given us. The state of Jefferson is not only a place on a map, it is an idea whose time has come. The state of Jefferson represents a love of country and preservation of the values and liberties every generation have given their lives and fortunes to protect. No, Jefferson is not only a place, it is a state of mind, a flame that cannot be extinguished by those who say no, or by those who laugh and mock and say it can never be. We ask that those who love freedom, small government, individualism, free enterprise, and the rule of law to join our cause, because become part of the sovereign state and the sovereign people, where we still believe that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Thank you, David.
Come join us.
My name is Dave Carabine. I'm a resident of Jamestown, and I'm here today to strongly urge your support for the state of Jefferson. I have four grandchildren that live here in Tuolumne County, and I'm deeply concerned for their future. The California legislature is leading us down a path of financial ruin, and I have no way to express my displeasure or affect change through the power of my vote. My fear is that my grandchildren and yours will grow up without the prospect of finding a job in this county, and they will be burdened with the taxes needed to pay off the debt that our current state government is incurring at an unprecedented rate, most of which is spent on programs that do not benefit myself or my neighbors. It is very clear that those who live in the major centers of Los Angeles and San Francisco control enough votes to enact any law they want, regardless of the impact on rural communities like ours. Their goals and values are often in direct opposition to mine and those of my neighbors. Adding salt to this wound is the fact that my vote is further diluted by virtue of the way our representation is allocated. It is bad enough that the big cities naturally have larger populations, but included in their count is every non-citizen, legal or not. In Los Angeles County alone, estimates range that somewhere between 10 and 25% of their population is in the illegal immigrant category. That's upwards of 3 million people that are represented unfairly. I am not in favor of paying taxes voted in by those who are not required to pay those taxes themselves. I am not in favor of environmental regulations that stifle job opportunities here or prevent the proper management of our resources or are put into place to placate special interest groups, especially when they don't even live here. I am not in favor of declaring the area I live a sanctuary anything. Convinced my tax dollars should be spent on a bullet train instead of fixing the potholes on Highway 108. The David Jefferson proposal affords us a viable solution if acted on quickly and before the current government spirals us into an unrecoverable situation. I like the idea of my tax dollars being spent where I live, managed by people who are accountable to me. We voted for you because we believe you are leaders who are not afraid to stand up for us. Show us you are worthy of that trust. Thank you.
Good evening, board, ladies and gentlemen. My name is George Croft, and I'm a resident of Tuolumne County and a student at Columbia College. I didn't come here with a prepared statement. I just kind of listened to both presentations, and I have some thoughts. First of all, and I know it takes a lot of courage to stand in front of this much green stuff and give the other side. But that being said, all I got out of that presentation was, you can't do that, it'll be hard. Moving on to not run through too much of my time, I was poking around the Facebook page of Keep It California Today, and I'm not going to hold anybody to the fire over something on Facebook, but I just found something that I thought was interesting. Somebody commented what were their thoughts on the Cal Exit movement, and their response didn't have any words in it. It was just a link to an article. And that article was a link to a law that's going around a bunch of different states, and it's basically saying that they're going to change federal election, like the presidential election model, to a popular vote model. Well, hang with me. That's what their answer to that was, which all that does is show a fundamental misunderstanding of the problem. Is that obviously, the majority vote doesn't work for everybody. Now, moving on from that, something I thought was interesting, she said that no one would even pen this law for Jefferson because they didn't want to put their name on it. No one wanted to put their name on a totally civil movement, but there's somebody in that same House of Government who will put his name on a bill to destroy Abraham Lincoln's legacy. And said, somebody penned that. The same guy that won't do it for the state of Jefferson did it because these maggots lost one presidential election. You can't educate that guy into doing his job right. That's right. You gotta do that.
Hello, I'm Steve Pereira, and I'm from Groveland, and I brought my sign with me. My sign, yeah, right? Show you people. Moonbeam, bad dream. Now, doesn't Governor Brown look a little bit like Freddy Krueger now after 16 years he's gone for as governor? There's nothing brighter about Governor Brown that we deserve him to be making decisions for us. I want to give an example of a nation that Jefferson could be like. I have Swiss heritage. William Tell and his group, they broke away from Austria about 900 years ago, and they're a federation. And that's a loosely grouped bunch of counties, is what they have there. And I listened to the presentation of Cindy, and she talked about how we're economically not viable. Switzerland's a lot like the land we have here, full of these high mountain resources that we know are terribly managed by the larger government agencies that control most of the land here. And I just want to give one example of how wrong Cindy's model is. And then she says, well, you can't pay for the roads. You guys won't be able to even pay for the roads. In Switzerland, the Swiss people don't pay for their roads. There's people from Italy and from Germany and from all that have to go through the Swiss Alps, or they want to go to the Swiss Alps, or they want to go to the Mediterranean. Those people pay for the roads. Those are toll roads. We will figure out a way of making revenue off of our tourists that come to this beautiful land, and we won't have any problem being a prosperous state. We're impoverished right now by the tyranny of the city-states on the coast. And I'm looking forward to being an independent member. Don't be afraid to vote for this. The scare tactics, they're always there.
Hi, my name is Leah, and I am employed in Tuolumne County by the state of California. California is among the highest tax state in the nation. It is one of the most regulated states. Last year, they created over 800 laws. Are you familiar with many of those? No, neither am I. They can't even afford to enforce them. California's debt their expenses and their income nearly mirror each other. With that, they're unable to afford to start to pay down their debt, which as of today, according to the debt clock, was $455 million. CalPERS alone has $120 billion of unfunded liability. That's my retirement, and that's many people's retirements in this room. If California was fully funded right now, today, and stopped spending more than what they are making, and started paying down that $455 million, it would take them over 500 years of $1 million a year to pay that off right now. So if it were a business proposal, would you invest in the state of California? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Fred Coleman. I've lived in Tuolumne County since 2001 after moving from Merced County. And I heard the financial woes of the state of Jefferson, but I want to point something out to you. In 1776, We declared our independence of England, the most powerful country in the world, and we didn't worry about finances. What it was all about was equal protection under the law and the protection of the minority. And we are the minority in Tuolumne County. I heard we need to save California. In my opinion, California exists about 75 miles east of the coast from the Mexican border to Marin County. That's California. The rest of us are the colonies. I don't like the fact that I'm not equally represented. I think if we don't get the state of Jefferson, we have to go back to the federal model where we have a chance to stop the laws that California on the coast wants to pass. And I'll turn my time over to someone else. That's all I have to say.
My name is Joe Opie. I'm a local citizen, and I'm for the Jefferson State. I'm sorry. I also would like to support colleagues that there are an apology letter to Trump, by the way. So that being said, I think the most important part for me is that I want equal representation. I want our state to have proper representation at the state level, and I want our counties to be heard, our needs to be heard, and I want at a federal level for we to have people from this local area up in these northern counties, even all the way down to Kern County. I think people would really like to be represented better. You heard enough of it tonight. You guys all know the situation. You're in politics. You get it. But representation is my biggest thing. Thank you.
Hi there, Bob Liner, Tuolumne County. I'm a voter. I'm a taxpayer. And I'm asking you to support the declaration because I don't know what you have to lose. I'm one of your constituents. I'm asking you to support it because right now we're not supported by the state of California. And I know I'm sitting here thinking about finances. I've got a really simple question. What is your freedom? What is your moral fiber worth? Is it worth any money? That's what you're doing. You're asking, okay, let's balance it this way or that way. Do we lose money if we support the state of Jefferson? Well, maybe you lose money, but you lose freedom for that loss of money. So think about it.
Hi, my name is Brian, and I'm 10 years old, and I hope you support Jefferson. Thank you.
Good job, by the way. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Hill. I've lived here since 2000. A long time ago, when I was much younger, I had the privilege of being an elected official. I was the mayor of a small town over in the South Bay area. So I can relate to the dilemma that you find yourself in. I agree with everything that was stated tonight by the people from the state of Jefferson, especially the part about the sanctuary state. That just has to go away. And I know a lot of people agree with me on that. I would simply request that you just do the right thing, vote from your heart. Remember that before Election Day and on Election Day, you all came to us collectively and wanted us to cast our vote for your representation to represent us. We ask you to do the same thing for us now. Just do the right thing. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Wynn Carpenter, and I am the president of the 501c4 for the state of Jefferson. The 501c4 is a body for the finances of the state of Jefferson. I can tell you without a doubt, it's viable. The information that Ms. Ellsmer quoted was incorrect. Hasn't done her homework. My concern is that when she pulled up the viable model that we have on our website, that she did not refresh. on the computer, because you can change the tax base that you want on there and play with it, and when you refresh it, it'll pop back up. You will be in the black, like all the other counties will. And if there are only 2 counties that we know of that are in the red, you are not one of them. And when they are in the red, that's day 1 of Jefferson, which is the last day of being in California. What a wonderful day. Also, she misquoted. There are 9 counties that were brought forward by boards of supervisors. 9. 13 by the citizens. I led the citizens in Shasta County. We have 35,000 signatures and counting.
Yep.
And they do not have to be validated by a state or county agency. That's not the process. When we did our homework, we did it well. We do it well daily because we learn daily what we need to do. We are happy to help out and answer any questions that you may have. We do this on a regular basis. We go to every county. We've been to every county. We've spoken in every county. Some counties multiple times. We're happy to do it. We've been down here many times, and we consider you the southern brothers and sisters to us northern counties. We want this to happen. We want it to happen quickly. And like Terry alluded to earlier, it's going to be happening very soon. I would not hesitate. Thank you.
I'm Glenn Brantley from LaGrange, District 4, and I'm angry and I'm fed up with this state, how they're ran and where it's going. This movement isn't going away. You can see it's grown since the elections. We've quadrupled in size. And we're going to go on with or without you, but I'm hoping you guys come off the fence and join us. I'd like to have my supervisors having our back, but we're not going away. This movement, this is it, and we're going. And she was saying that we're going to be self-sustaining, but didn't Governor Brown borrow a bunch of money for his floods and his train from the government? So we're supposed to be self-sustaining. No, that's all I got to say. The more Sacramento keeps regulations and restrictions on us, keeps taxing us, and those weirdos keep protesting, we keep getting stronger. I'm telling you. Thank you.
You know, I can't let this line end, so I decided I might get some people behind me. I had never heard about the state of Jefferson until about a year ago. And I was so fed up with the state of California, I was ready to move. Except that I can't. I got facilities here. I'm overtaxed, overregulated. I am to my wit's end. I don't know what to do. I sell it, but if I do that, I'm going to be taxed out of any cash I get. So I'm reading the California state budget. You should go look at it. It's on the internet. Just query California state budget. You know what the first line item is? They haven't got $200 million to fix the Oroville Dam, ready to burst. And that first line item, $500 million dedicated to undocumented alien support. If you think I'm kidding, go look at the California budget. The second line item, 400, I might be off in a little tens of thousands, but it's all monopoly money to the state anyway. $487 million allocated to eco-friendly cars for the California state public employees. I don't give a rat's ass about the employees. I work my butt off. I'm asking the board members here to vote in favor of us. Please, your constituents need your help. We can't do this by ourselves. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Malik Tomasovich, and I moved up here in 1966. I was 18 years old. I did not want to live in the city. And this county is a wonderful place to live. And this is where I want my grandchildren to be able to live and have jobs and be okay. And it's going away already. And I think all the unknowns about Jefferson I'd be willing to take them over the knowns of California today.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to make public comment? Seeing none, then we will bring the conversation back to the board. Any comments from my fellow supervisors? Mr. Royce.
I'll share. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here this evening. It's a strong showing of support for the efforts you guys are putting forth. And I also appreciate you showing up, and that's brave to sit here in front of all these people, so I commend that. So to keep it short and sweet, I support what you guys are doing, and I think that we should recommend to our staff to be a part of the movement. I think it's very simple. The logic that I process is similar to the comments here. Our liberty and our freedom and our future, there's no price for that. I've been on the board in my 7th year now, and I see us adopt budgets, and I see where a lot of the money goes, and I see a lot of the things that we're forced to do that waste enormous amounts of money to comply with California reporting requirements, with studies and bureaucratic waste. And I feel that we can be independent. I feel that the people here are strong and resilient, and they value their freedom and independence, and they're responsible because of that. We take care of ourselves, we take care of each other, and we're good people. And we are by far underrepresented in the state. We go down to Sacramento, and we're nothing. And we don't have the power, we don't have the influence to make the changes to help our people. We don't have the resources to play the games that they play down there. And there's corruption. There is people that are there are compromised. Their integrity and their allegiances are not to us. And it's wrong. And I see this as the only effort that really has some kind of potential. I hope it has potential to be real. I really don't know. I don't know the background to it. I'm not a lawyer, but it means something to try. And thank you again for being here, and thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you all for being here, and I appreciate the presentations. I appreciate the spokespeople. I want to particularly give credit to the young man, Ryan, is that his name? Ryan. Ryan. Yes. Ryan. How old are you? 10. You've got a lot of courage, young man. We can be proud of you. Your dad can too. That was really good. Thank you. I live with the facility that you talk about every day. I spend a lot of time in Sacramento trying to get a rural county, other than rural counties, to listen to me. The rural counties listen to me because they identify with the problem. The others don't listen to us much. We're kind of a benign nuisance to them because we don't count. I used that statement with them when they did the Citizens Redistricting Committee. I said, we're benign nuisance, kind of like a wart. I mean, we're not really a big problem. We're kind of a nuisance, but we never go away. We're just there. The county of only represents something less than 0.15 of 1% of the population of the state of California. And unless it serves their purpose, we often aren't listened to. But we try logic, we try everything we can, and we continue to fight. I am an American, first and foremost. I'm sworn, as the other members up here are, to uphold the Constitution. I'm constantly in a conflict when the state goes against that's a problem for me. I'm also native-born Californian. And I like being a Californian. We didn't call it the state of fruits and nuts when I grew up. I lived on the East Coast briefly, and they called us granola state for everything wasn't fruits and nuts, was flaky. I couldn't resist. You laughed at me. Don't encourage me.
Yeah, but she's third generation California.
My grandson is the sixth generation native California. So it's all. And by the way, I moved away from the cities because I didn't like the city. I'm a rural boy, and I am your delegate to RCRC. They represent 35 counties, represent more than 50% of the land mass and just under 10% of the population, and we struggle to get our message heard. So I liken it, and I said this, someone else kind of implied King George and the colonies. It's kind of the same way. We're used, we're abused, and so it's a problem. Yeah, sure, the state of California, but it isn't working. That's right. It isn't working. We have regulations placed on us, one size fits all, and they don't really apply. We have no water rights in this county, in case you didn't know that. But our water goes elsewhere, and we struggle to try and guarantee water so that you have water. We do lots of things, and the urban counties, the urban populations don't care. I try to get people to come see the tree mortality issue. I got a lot of rural counties come see. I got one urban person to come because the senator from Orange County is a personal friend, and so he sent a staffer. That's all I could do. I keep trying. Their issues aren't our issues. So how do you change that? How do you get their attention? And that's the problem. That's the problem. And that's the problem we're all trying to articulate today. How do we change that? How do we get that so that we get a voice? We have a bicameral legislature that doesn't make any sense because it's not bicameral. It's all based on population on both sides. So it's basically the same. And so it's a problem. I do want to say this. This problem is big. It's really bigger than the Board of Supervisors because it's the people that count, and they're the only ones that count. And anytime any legislator or any politician seems to think he's bigger than the will of people, we need to get rid of him. Right on. I'm not sure I'm willing to sign up for your draft as it is now. I need legal approval, all that kind of stuff, and go through things. But I have to say, it's hard not to be sympathetic to the cause, because I want Tuolumne County can. I want, when we speak, to listen to. By the way, we've been able to accomplish some of that. The rest of the state knows who we are, and they didn't do that a few years ago. But that's because we're the center of a lot of things going on. We're leading some things happening. But we had rimfire. All of a sudden, people knew where we were. But that's not the reason we want to be known. So I'm sympathetic, but I really think we can recommend to the people they do things, but this needs to be a grassroots people effort. The people of the county need to understand this issue and the situation, and they need to be behind it. Now, most of you are from here, I'm sure. There's a couple from out of town, but for the most part, you're here. So, got to sell it to the people. That's the right way to do it. I'm just one vote, and I'm clearly sympathetic. This is, we need to be heard, and on a regular basis, we need our voice to count, and in every aspect of what goes on.
2-minute clock back on.
Now you're really encouraged. I think I got the vote.
All right, I'll be much shorter. It's always good to have Randy speak first because he'll say, cover most everything. I think that, as a Board of Supervisors, that, just to be clear, I'm a fourth generation Tuolumne County native. My family's been in this. I've seen the changes firsthand. I've been here most of my life. So we know where we sit on the board, that we have some good representatives. We just don't have a number of them that help us change the things for the betterment of how we see the county should be. So I certainly support that philosophy of trying to do something that would increase that representation. To move forward with the new state, I think that there's certain things that we need to really be clear about. Most of the people in this room are going to be 100% for it, but there's 54,000 people out in this county. There's 30-something thousand voters. So I think that we have to do our due diligence. We have to really understand the direction that we're going to go. What are the financial impacts? We get one side this way, one side this way. Let's make sure that we know what we're doing and where we're going before we pull the ultimate trigger. And I don't know what that answer is. I do believe that we should engage our staff to do some analysis on this, to make it clear, to make it comfortable, so that we do have the answers to maybe the other 500 people that aren't in this room, because those questions will be asked, and when you're setting up, trying to make that decision, you really have to do your best to understand what the will of the people are, and in this room we understand it, in another room we may be different, so that's pretty much what I say.
Supervisor Roser.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for coming, Cindy. Not an easy crowd to be in front of when you're on the other side. Thank you also for coming, and most of all, thank all of you for coming. It's been a very eventful evening. Most of all, I'd like to thank Ryan for coming and speaking. And the reason I say that is because we're not talking about most of our future, okay? We are talking about Ryan's future. I really apologize for forgetting your name. The lady that came up said something that really kind of struck me, and I'm going to paraphrase it. But I'd rather embrace the uncertainty of the state of Jefferson and live with the certainty of the state of California. It brings back a memory of one of the most difficult times in my life when I was getting a divorce from my ex-wife. And someone was talking to me, and that individual said, people choose to go when the pain of staying is worse than the pain of leaving. And I think that we're hearing a lot of people's pain here tonight. I think that's a very powerful and a very important message. I agree with virtually everything that's been said up here on the dais tonight. I do think that it's important that this decision is made by the people and not by 5 people, even though we were elected to represent everybody, okay? So what I would encourage, or what I would suggest to my colleagues up here, is that we ask staff, and I don't really have a timetable to propose, but ask staff to do the analysis on the fiscal viability and some of the major issues that are involved. And they can pick our brains individually if that's necessary, but ask the staff to do a little analysis, come back with a presentation, and I'd like to see 2 options analyzed, and that is, what would it take? Number 1, what would it mean, and what are the pros and cons of the board taking an action? But the other one, to pass the resolution. The other option, though, that I would like to see is what it would take and cost and what the time frame might be to do a ballot initiative, and whether that's a special election or a scheduled election or not. But I really believe I would feel much more comfortable, even though I think I know most of the people and how they feel in my district, that I really feel more comfortable if we had a public referendum on it. So with that, I'll close my remarks.
So, sitting in this chair means I get to go last with my comments, and that means they're usually generally short and sweet because my colleagues have said an awful lot that's been on my mind. I too want to talk about Ryan, because when I was sitting here listening, my grandson is going to be the 5th generation Tuolumne County native. And I do worry about his ability, especially in the natural resource industry. It's all of our businesses, though, and we've heard a lot of the reasons. We're aware of it. We talk about them at every one of our board meetings. What is the opportunity cost for doing business in the state of California? So many of the issues that were brought up tonight. So, and I think the other thing that really struck me, I was thinking about the road fire, and I remember being out in the road fire, out on the allotment, with an awful lot of folks from this county out on the force working, and in the city and county of San Francisco getting the emergency declaration before the county was warned. Very telling, very alarming. So, having said that, I do agree though with Supervisor Rotifer's comments about, I think it's important to hear from all of the constituents in Tuolumne County by some type of, whether it's a special election, but some type of vote. And we will need some information in order to do that, because I think some questions do come up that we need some answers to, so that the public has the correct information. The only thing that I would like to see is that if we take that course of action, that we do put some time piece on it, because I don't want to see this linger. And so I would suggest that, and I'm not sure what would be appropriate to gather that information, because I would like to see Ms. Batista come up with I think we have a really incomplete picture of what the revenue is that is generated through all of the different forms of taxation in Tuolumne County. And then what it would mean for a timeline to, if we were to do a special election, what that would entail. So I would suggest that, and I'm kind of looking to Mr. Pedro for this. I don't know if our first meeting in April, if we could have that information, or what kind of time frame we would be looking at.
That's a hard one to answer. And I could come back first meeting in April with the best information available and any additional time we may need to get to finish anything that isn't done. I don't know. We can give you a rough time. Our thought when we talk about this staff-wise has been to get our financial elected officers, that would be our auditor, controller, treasurer, tax collector, assessor recorder, and our budget officer, myself, budget coordinator, myself together, and put our heads together to do this kind of analysis. So, I can get with people and come back if you want me to be asked, kind of come back with a time frame at the next meeting. I can try.
So is there consensus that?
I'm fine with them coming back, and I'd even be fine with them coming back at the first meeting in April with an assessment of what we could do. But certainly the next meeting would be fine as well.
And just to be clear, I think the process issues that the board mentioned, how we would put something on the ballot or the board take an action themselves, those kinds of things would be, I don't want to say simple, but I think those are more straightforward to be researched involving county counsel's office and also Ms. Batista from her county clerk collections officer hat. It would be to do a credible financial analysis. It's going to take a little bit more time.
Supervisor Lewis?
Yeah. I think the approach is okay, and I know you guys are trying to be responsible and doing a financial assessment. It gives you cover in decision making, and it also answers questions. But the problem that I see is there's so many, there's the tangible revenues, and we can go, okay, if you go apples to apples, and this is all the dollars that are being collected going to California to go straight to us, and we look at those, that's pretty simple math, but the intangibles, I think, are more difficult to fathom. And if you look at things like how much staff time do we spend reporting to California about solid waste? How much time do we spend writing reports about behavioral health studies, or there's so many things that we do that consume our people's capacity just to fit into the parameters that California builds for us. When we apply for grant money, there's strings and there's boundaries that we have to work within. We have to go back and forth. How much staff time have we spent trying to comply with NDRC rules? And that's a great thing. That's a lot of money, and I'm not knocking that, but think about all that intangible resource that's being applied. I don't know how you measure those things. If you look at,
I don't know if it would be necessary to measure all that, just pull the numbers together and see.
Just the easy math?
Because if not, we'd be bogged down in analysis for the next.
I think you can do that, but I think it's a small window into the full potential of what really is trying to be accomplished. The problem with California is all the burden by the regulations and the control, the one-size-fits-all policies that tell us how to make decisions as this board without being able to take into full consideration how it affects our people and have the power to actually make decisions for their will. I'm okay with it. I just think I don't know. I'm a little more aggressive, I guess, than I might get beat up. I'm moving.
Yeah, you got your back.
I didn't become a supervisor and fall into this role to beg for money from California and just to try to get along and follow their rules. I wanted to change things and make a difference. Thank you. I get excited about that.
When I said do an analysis,
I'm sorry.
I wasn't talking about slicing dimes on the thin edge. But I do think that if we're going to ask our citizens to vote on something of this magnitude, that we at least owe them some kind of professional analysis of what we're asking them to vote on in terms of just large-scale macroeconomic viability. And that's as far as I would take it. I'm not talking about trying to capture everything, but I've seen a lot of analysis on it, and everything that I've seen, seriously, I can poke holes in sitting up here with no supportive information. It's just very, very obvious that they're not comparing apples to apples and stuff like that. So rather than just throw it onto a ballot and say, hey, here's, take your wild guess, I go back to the fact that I think in the final analysis, a large percentage of people that are going to vote on this are going to vote based on that quote that I said, is it more painful to stay or is it more painful to go? And I think that in the final analysis, that's the way the vote's going to shake out. But we need to at least have something out there for them. Okay, I agree largely with what you said. So much look for we can't just do this. We got to do it with proper analysis and so that the people will inform, or at least we give them enough information to do that. I want to make an observation for the audience here. I didn't like one of the things you said when you said inaction. You equated inaction with rejection.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's not, well, that's the way it came across. I'm just telling you the way it came across, okay? We're probably not taking any action tonight, as you can see. We're giving staff direction, but I wouldn't call what we're doing tonight rejection. Madam Chairman, I think we have consensus to the staff that they need more clarification. Way to give it.
First meeting in April?
That's fine.
Second? Well, I know there's urgency. My ears are working just fine, and I know that things are in motion, and I think the first meeting in April will be a better time to come back. We're not going to have all the answers, but we'll have a lot.
Remember, we're dealing with budget.
Right. So, all right. With that, then the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.